Forsooth, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We are here on the 26th day of April in the year of our Lord 2020. As I shake the table here because I'm so excited to celebrate one of the greatest authors of all time with William Shakespeare today here on Broadway Battles. I am Adam Weiner. I am the hostess with the mostess here for you this evening. We have a lot of fun on tap. Even if you are not a fan of the Bard or don't know a lot and don't know the difference between Romeo and Richard III, don't worry about it. We're going to have some fun this evening, have some discussions, and talk a lot about theater and the Bard. And folks, it's been a crazy type of these past few weeks. And I got to thinking about Shakespeare quotes, and I think one of our most favorite quotes of his that I think is from, well, I can say Macbeth, right? Because we're not doing the show right now, but I would edit it a little bit. From Macbeth in Act 5, I would believe he says tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. Folks, it's long lasting, but we are getting through it together. We are welcome. You are welcome. We are glad to have you here. If you would like to comment and interact with our guests and tell them that you think you should have been on this show tonight and not these special guests because you know a lot more about Shakespeare than they do, please comment. Allow StreamYard to see your name. Go to the address down there, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and get in the game. We are happy to have you, and we have some great contestants lined up for you this evening. They are all, actually 5 of the 6 are Farmers Alley veterans. They are all local theatrical stars, and they all love Shakespeare. We are, and Rich Manalung says, one of the greatest playwrights, well, you saw Shakespeare in Love. Maybe he didn't really write all his plays. Oh, we'll talk to one of our guests about that in just a second as well. But first, I would like to introduce one of our first couples tonight, It's our first couple tonight on Broadway Battles. I'm so happy to welcome Atis Kleinbergs and Lisa Abbott. They are 2 veterans of Farmers Alley Theater and theater in general and Shakespeare. Farmers Alley has never done a Shakespeare show.
I know. Why is that?
If we did, these 2 will probably be one of the first people that we would call. How are you guys doing?
We're
good. Really good.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. You guys are nice and cozy and close for this show, so thank you. But Atis was last seen in our last fall's production of Camelot,
right?
As one. What was your knight's name? I can't remember.
Oh, I forget too because I'm coming up with my Bedivere. No, I forget. I'm so sorry. It's
one terrible. Of the nights, and you wore purple pants.
I did wear purple pants.
It was super fun. And Lisa was seen in our production of The Christians, that fantastic Lucas Nath play in February of 2019. Little Theater, what a great show.
Yeah.
That was. And now you guys have been in a lot of Shakespeare plays together. How many of you guys been in together?
2, 3.
Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
4.
4.
Yeah. That's a lot. And you direct? When you guys did The Tempest in Grand Rapids a couple of years? Was just.
We were just guest artists.
Yeah, we were adjunct.
Okay, you were guest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think what was your favorite Shakespeare experience of your career? Would you say?
Wow.
Honestly, Much Ado with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the chance to be on stage with her.
Memories. Yeah.
That's the right answer, Atis. So no, Beatrice and Benedict, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson have nothing on you guys.
But we love that show.
Yeah, that's a fantastic production.
Well, it's great. We're glad to have you here. You were going to throw down some knowledge tonight, I believe.
Yeah, we are.
All right. I'm excited to see that. Now, next guest, we wanted to bring his spouse on as well because she is very experienced in Shakespeare. But they have 3 little boys at home. There she is, Trevor.
Hey.
Gentlemen. And there's Nancy as well. Now, you guys met doing a Shakespeare show, correct?
Correct. Yes. We did Taming of the Shrew together, directed by Art Nemitz in 2005.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. So, and it was happily ever after, right? You tamed her.
No. The other way around.
Right, exactly. So, but Trevor's been in many Shakespeare productions over the years and in a bunch of Farmer's Alley as well. In fact, you were supposed to be in our most recent production of Lost in Yonkers back in March. We had to cancel / postpone that. But it was great working with you, Trevor. I can only imagine how much even more powerful you are with the study of the Shakespeare language as well, because I love Shakespeare. There's no way you would never get me on a Shakespeare stage or direct a Shakespeare show. Forget it. I don't know. What draws you to it and to the language for so long, being such a fan of it?
What's great about Shakespeare, and I think what makes the greatest playwrights, is that you can interpret it in a lot of different ways, but it's always about, at the core, being a human and the human experience and all the, that's why we can read something that's 450 years old and be like, oh yeah, I've been there. That happened to me.
All the world's a stage. That's right. Yeah. Well, Trevor, I'm happy to have you here this evening. I'm very excited, and I am excited at some of your answers. You're going to be clashing with Lisa and Atis. You will also be clashing with another couple, another Kalamazoo couple, Michael P. Martin and Sarah Roddis, where they, well, Shakespeare, a bust or a statue of Shakespeare. Oh, look at you. Like, you guys are assuming you're hashtag winners.
What? We didn't even do that.
How do you guys feel, Lisa and Adam, Trevor? They've already crowned themselves. I don't know.
I don't know.
A hashtag isn't really victory.
I don't know how. I don't even know how to do that. That had to be the moderators. Somebody.
Now, guys. Now, and have you guys been in Shakespeare shows together as well?
Yes.
What was that? Well, you were in Shakespeare in Hollywood.
That's where we met. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Another couple that met doing a Shakespeare. That's great.
Right.
Well, not a Shakespeare play, but about Shakespeare.
Right. And then we were also in Romeo and Juliet, and then Twelfth Night as well.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, and Michael P. for Farmer's Alley audiences was last seen Peter and the Starcatcher, and that show in Spamalot as well. Sarah, it's just a question, I think, of when, not if.
When, exactly.
On the stage. But what is now? Do you guys? Let me ask you, Michael P. and Sarah. Do you like Shakespeare shows set in the traditional time period, or are you one of those people that are against, like, you can't set it in any other time period than the Elizabethan era when it was meant to be, or are you a purist like that?
I'm not against it per se, but you have to give me a why. There has to be logic behind the choice, because I've seen some that are just like, oh, let's do it because it's edgy, and it just doesn't fit. So, because, I mean, like Trevor said, it definitely stands the test of time. So you can take these plays and put them anywhere. Just please make it make sense. Other way. No.
You guys are like trying to hide.
I'll take anything besides.
Sure. I mean, yes. I mean, everybody wants to do something in the steampunk atmosphere, but it's got to work. But, from our producer's standpoint, a lot of people do it modern age because of budget. They don't want everybody in stockings and traditional garb. Well, thank you guys for being here. Now, I also want to introduce a very, very special guest. Now, the person I'm about to introduce has directed all of you. Is that correct? Yep. All 5 of you in productions, and all 6 of us. That's right. Me as well. And that's right. And 4 of the 5, yes, 5 of the 6 in Shakespeare shows as well. I am talking about the legendary Kalamazoo actor, director, humanitarian, author who just had a show premiere on the Kalamazoo Civic Stage in February, Mr. Art Nemitz. Hello, sir.
Hi there. Glad to have you. Glad to be here.
Art is joining us as our fact checker this week. He is also going to assist me because he definitely knows a lot more about Shakespeare than I do. How many Shakespeare shows have you directed? So many, correct?
More than 10.
More than 10, you've said. You've done a couple of them more than once. And,
yes, I've done Romeo and Juliet twice. I've done Taming of the Shrew twice. 3 times, actually.
Let me ask you then, Art, what draws you to do a show, well, it's like Taming of the Shrew. What draws you to do Taming of the Shrew 3 times?
Well, once I was in it, so I got cast. The second time I did it in high school because I had an exceptional group of kids at Northern High School, and they were in my honors class and they loved Shakespeare, so we did Taming of the Shrew, and they were beautiful. And I did it again at Sellery Flats Shakespeare in the Park with Trevor and Nancy and a bunch of other wonderful people, and it was a great show.
You find something new each time, sure. You find something new, and yeah, I mean, the language, you can always find something to learn or something to teach, I would suspect. Lessons that can be relevant for no matter what you're dealing with. That's right. Art Nemitz is Kalamazoo Shakespeare guru, as well as a playwright. You had your show debut, Romance Guaranteed. They put it in February. They got it in just under the wire.
Got it in just in time. We closed just before everything closed down. Yep.
So, well, folks, we are closed down, but we are going to heat up the theater talk right now. Let's party like it's $15.99, right? And get you like that, and get into our first question of Broadway Battles, folks. We are going to give you 3 questions for the round, and each team will have 45 seconds to give their initial answer, and then we're going to open it up for a free-for-all. Talk for a few minutes about why their answer is the best and why everybody else's stinks, and then we will rule. Remember, it's more about the argument, the reason why you're making the argument, than the answer itself. So without further ado, let us go. To be or not to be, let us to be with the first question. Folks, who is the best couple in the Shakespeare canon? There are so many. They're in the titles. Romeo and Juliet, you know, it's all in there. Troilus and Cressida, right? Is that one? Troilus and Cressida? Yeah. But everybody knows very famous couples in the Shakespeare canon. And we're going to go to Atis and Lisa. Who did you choose as who do you think is the best couple in the Shakespeare canon?
So the best couple in all of the literature, and that is literature and not just plays, is Will's 1100-line narrative poem, Venus and Adonis, because they are the proto-couple for every great love that comes after them, whether it's Kate and Petruchio, Antony and Cleopatra, Oberon and himself. That fantastic formula is genetically encoded in all of Shakespeare's duos, and the DNA starts right here in 1593 with them. Now, this play was also what skyrocketed Will to stardom, and it secured him his first royal patron. So genetic formula plus fame plus fortune is why Venus and Adonis are the best couple.
Wow, very succinct, very succinct. So he wrote that kind of more before.
He wrote it in 1593. He was actually, the theaters had all closed because of the bubonic plague.
Oh,
yeah, right. You do some of your best work when you have to, right? So yeah, he wrote that. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 histories previous to that, but this really rocketed him to stardom. Yep.
All right, Venus and Adonis. Let us now go to Trevor Stefanick. Trevor, who do you think is the best couple in the Shakespeare canon?
I have to say it's Oberon and Titania from Midsummer Night's Dream. My particular reasoning is that Oberon and Titania have this huge row, that's British for a fight, over a kidnapped boy. They go through this very elaborate scheme and prank, which involves basically some weird catfishing and some bestiality. And yet, in the end, they end up walking off into the sunset together. So if you can go through all of that and come and do this over and over again seasonally, because that's what they are, is they're representations of the seasons, and they can keep doing this over and over again. They represent all of us.
I see. Very good. Very good. Interesting. And then Titania also has that whole, falls in love with Bottom, right?
Yeah, that's the bestiality part.
I see. There you go. Okay. Very good answer. Good answer. Michael and Sarah, you have an interesting answer for as well as who you think is the best couple in the Shakespeare canon.
Yes, we went with Sir Andrew Aguecheek and Sir Toby Belch as Shakespeare's greatest couple.
Greatest.
They represent opposite sides of a coin, both physically and emotionally, while complementing each other perfectly. And prime example of opposites attract. The best of Shakespeare's comedic duos. They're adept at furthering plot lines as they are at throwing cunning or, in Andrew's case, mind-numbingly stupid jibes at Malvolio. If not for Maria's cunning wit, which third wheels Sir Andrew by the end of the show, the two knights would surely have spent the rest of their lives together as the ultimate odd couple.
Ultimate. That's the one.
Like Sarah is kind of like your hype man for this answer.
Right.
Atis was doing it too, so that's good. What play is this from? Just so because I don't know if you mentioned the play that Twelfth Night, correct? Yes. So they are not a couple per se, like a romantically linked couple.
That wasn't it,
right?
But
they are a duo.
I'm just making it clear.
Well, we don't know that. With the
that is true.
Part two, maybe.
There's a wonderful adaptation of Twelfth Night. I think that the Lincoln Center one that PBS taped. The one with Paul Rudd is in it, and Helen Hunt, right, is in it. And the guy who was the dad on Alf was Sir Andrew Aguecheek, right? He was great.
Fact checker.
Yeah, the fact checker. No, that's right. I got that right. Because I remember watching that a lot because I thought it was really, really good. Well, three really interesting answers. Honestly, Lisa say Venus and Adonis. Is the precursor for every couple to come after. Trevor says Oberon and Titania from Midsummer Night's Dream. And Michael and Sarah say Sir Andrew Aguecheek and Sir Toby Belch from Twelfth Night. Let's open up to the floor, folks. Does anybody take issue with these answers?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, so let me just chime in. Trevor, I'm sorry, Oberon and Titania have done this before. So have Beatrice and Benedict again and again and again. That's nothing new.
And nobody chose Beatrice and Benedict.
They're eternal forces of nature. They've been doing it well beyond the lifetime of humans.
Okay. All right, sure.
Beatrice is a force of nature.
Beyond humans, you mean also bestiality? Then
they need couples counseling, is what they need. They enjoy ruining other people's lives to play these little games. Would you? All right.
Isn't that all of us?
No. Would you want your marriage to be like that marriage?
Oh
no!
Don't answer that.
You
they're able to walk away. They have friends outside. They don't need.
Did they have friends?
They can stand on their own.
Or did they have minions?
And magic.
No.
We want to talk about Andrew Aguecheek and Toby Belch.
Let's. Now there's a couple.
There's much better. How about Lear and the Fool? How about Falstaff and Hal?
Romeo and Mercutio, hello.
That was on our short list.
That was
That's
a good one.
Yes.
I figured everyone would do it.
Right.
I figured everybody would do Beatrice and Benedict. That's why I didn't say that.
Everybody kind of went off the grid and didn't pick like the obvious answers like Beatrice and Benedict. You have a flaw in them, Lisa Atis? Like, why wouldn't you choose them? There's characters that you
Beatrice and Benedict?
Yeah.
Well, to her point though, without Venus and Adonis, Shakespeare wouldn't have written Beatrice and Benedict.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been funded. He wouldn't have had a name. Nobody would have paid attention to him.
Yep.
But if they're the prototype for all the couples, then that means all the crappy ones too.
All of them.
It's true.
So
read that
a little bit of
quote.
good, a little bit of bad. I don't know if that really makes them best.
It doesn't, because do you start with your best work? No, you keep building and growing and adding. So your first draft is usually
the first pancake.
Yeah, but it's that first seed that plants, the beautiful flower that comes. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not the flower; it's the
rose
seed.
of England would not bloom without a seed.
I see. Why, Trevor? Why with Titania and Oberon? I guess why did you pick them as and I say best couple. I mean, is the most engaging. I mean, that's subjective, of course. I think, but if you're like showing Aliens, this is one of our, if not the best literature writers, displaying male-female relationships. We're gonna choose. Why did you choose like these ethereal characters?
I actually went very similar to Michael and Sarah in that it's not necessarily a male-female couple. It is their interactions with each other. It is their it is the eternal struggle between them that they're always trying to one-up each other. And yet at the end of this, after all of the crazy stuff, they still walk off together and are ready to come at it again. And I don't know. I would say that some of my most entertaining relationships, including the one I'm in now, involve very good arguments.
There you go.
Cute.
And do you want to have Michael P. and Sarah? Do you want to have a last word at all?
Of course.
A word, I guess.
Yeah.
Final words on this. What do you have to say?
Relationships should be built on making each other better, right? You each bring something different to the table. You might be complete opposites, but those opposites come together to build each other and make each other stronger. So Sir Toby's there being like, go, Andrew, go. You get that girl. He's building him up. He's building that confidence. He's making him feel like a super brave knight. And then Sir Andrew's end of the bargain is that he's giving Toby this kind of like push kind of game to play when he ends up winning Mariah with. So, I mean, it all kind of, you can't get
Are they the original bros?
Yes.
Well, right. I mean, well, look at this. Look, and in almost every other show, it's the leads who are the great couple, right? The great couples are the leads. These guys aren't the leads at all. No. They're supporting characters. They're just supposed to be the comic relief, to kind of be the side plot, to keep the story a little engaging and keep it going. But they steal the show because they're the couple you want to watch.
Yep.
You don't care about the misguided cross-dressing that's going on the side that's supposed to be the main storyline. You want to watch these guys struggle through their relationship of feeding each other's egos and Sir Toby Belch's belly. That's what you want.
Aren't those the two characters you two played?
No.
Are you? Wait.
Did I play Sir Andrew?
Wait, who was Belch?
Wait a minute.
Who was Belch?
Right. Yeah. Let's cast this, Trevor.
Of the two of us.
I mean, it's definitely you.
Well, thank you.
Very good. Good explanation there. Lisa Atis, do you have a final statement here on yours? Now, was let me ask you this, and this might be a question for Art if I'm stepping on your foot. Was Venus and Adonis performed?
It was actually. It was recently staged by the Royal Shakespeare Company in 2004 and then again in 2017. And they decided to use marionettes because, as Avenue Q has taught us, everyone loves hot puppet on puppet action.
Well, there you go. Very good. Hot puppet. We'll leave it at that. Trevor, do you have a final word in support of your answer?
No, I think it speaks for itself.
Excellent.
I can say more bad words about them.
Oh. Now, Art, let's go to Art here, fact checker extraordinaire. Do you have any questions or comments that you want to make?
Well, yeah. First of all, Venus and Adonis, I can see where you're coming from in terms of, very attractive pair of lovers. But when you boil it down, really, it's about a woman or a goddess, if you want to call her that, who's very hot for this guy, but he's more interested in cruising boars in the forest.
Right.
You never really do get around to anything else before he gets killed. As far as Taming of the Shrew is concerned, it's pretty good, except once you get past the male dominant sort of thing. But if you understand it as that Petruchio thinks he wins, but actually it's Kate who's been pulling the strings, and that she really is the secret behind this thing, a couple. But I do like Toby and Sir Andrew. I can see, I think your point about that they're the couple that the audience really looked for seeing next.
Mm-hmm.
They're. I know we had a lot of fun with them when we did it in the summer in the park. We set it in the summer of love, 1967, with all the because there was so much music in it that we could incorporate songs from that period. I thought it worked beautifully. So
are you all right? Well, so are you? Does that mean are you going with Michael P. and Sarah?
I think so, because I think theirs is the more original point of view.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm torn then. So because I thought all three of you gave excellent answers. We're in for another good group of two more coming after this, I think. But I am going to go with the advice of Mr. Nemitz here. I think it was a very original, good answer. And I think absolutely Lisa and Atis are correct as well, that while it may have been the precursor of every other couple to come, is it the most iconic or is it the most, developed? And I guess maybe you could say Sir Andrew and Sir Toby flew, Venus and Adonis crawled, so Sir Andrew and Sir Toby could run, right? So, and to Tanya and Oberon, I really like your comment is that they try to get one over on each other, but in the end, it's all in good fun. But they shouldn't be trying to get one on over each other in the first place. If I don't know, is an example of a couple. But congratulations to Michael P. and Sarah for taking that question. But now I want to ask. I definitely want to ask. What's that? Go ahead.
I did like Trevor's comment about the changes of the season.
Yes.
But that's rather esoteric, and I don't think a usual audience would get that unless you printed it in the program.
It's all in the direction, right?
Now, we had some really interesting answers, but Rich Manilon, for example, in the comments said Hamlet and Horatio as an example of a great Shakespeare couple. If you guys anybody wants to write in and give their answers or who they think is the best couple, or for this next question as well, please feel free to write in. And I think instructions to do that in the comments are at the top of the thread as well. All right, going to question number 2. And I think Art had a good segue in terms of talking about modernization of Shakespeare shows. You did Twelfth Night in The Summer of Love, correct? Well, I posed a scenario to all three of these teams. The quarantine is over. COVID-19 has been like that evangelical preacher who blew, it's gone, it's everywhere. You are the producer of your town, Shakespeare in the Park. All right. What play do you produce? What time period do you set it in? And who do you get to star? What celebrity do you get to star in this production of this Shakespeare play now that everybody's back and can enjoy theater together again? To start this, we're going to go first with Trevor for his answer. Trevor, what play would you choose?
Well, I thought a lot about it, and I was trying to think of something that is very relevant to everyone around us and to everyone and what we're going through right now. And so I thought I would set it in a modern time. And the play I would pick would be Julius Caesar, except I would think I would cut out the entire back half, the whole fall of the Republic. And we get Alec Baldwin to star as Caesar. And we'd set it in modern times. And we would ask audience volunteers to be the conspirators, because all they have to do is go up and stab him. I think it'd be a very cathartic play for everybody. That's it.
I guess you're not pulling any punches there for sure. You were putting it all out there. He's a bit for everyone to see. So you would actually cut out the second half of the play?
Well, if we want to make it hopefully relate more to today, at least as much as we know so far. I would hate for it to just become a doomsday prophecy, because that's kind of the back half of the play.
I see. Okay, so modern times, Julius Caesar, Alec Baldwin. Excellent. All right. Michael and Sarah, what did you choose for your play for Shakespeare?
Cymbeline, set in modern day America. We're going to start in the White House and move to the Appalachian Mountains, where she takes her journey. We're going to have it starring Amy Adams as Imogen and Helen Mirren as the Queen. While most plays dealing with poison and plague are cautionary tales that end in tragedy to teach their morals, Cymbeline gives us an ending that teaches us how to restore to a livable world in the aftermath of tragedy. So it's an uplifting story. In Cymbeline, Shakespeare gives us the age-old character of the good doctor who's heroic in the age of plague, while Imogen desperately tries to escape a world filled with poison and evil eyes, which are actually evil, jealousy and murder. In the end, the world is cured of evil when we discover that the great journey of life into death is shared by everyone, and the characters in the play are free to look each other in the eyes as fellow pilgrims, free of slanderous looks. They're able to purge their fears in their journey back to a healthier world. And how can that not be relevant in this age of pandemic? We need that more than anything now. And why not a tragic, romantic comedy that fills every single motif of Shakespeare?
True.
Is that what, now, forgive me, is that what Cymbeline is classified as a comedy?
It's a romantic tragic comedy.
Okay.
He actually.
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Shakespeare mocks every other show with this show. There's beheading, there's murder, there's mistaken identities, there's love, there's comedy. It's bizarre and beautiful.
And why Amy Adams and Helen Mirren? I mean, Helen Mirren as the queen.
She is the queen.
She is the queen.
And she's an evil queen, so that would just be wonderful to watch. And then Amy Adams is just one of our favorites. She's so entirely versatile.
She can do anything.
She can do any part she wants. I think she's a chameleon, and I think she's just wonderful. And I'd love to see her in a more classic role like this.
Interesting. I guess I want to hear, because I'm not familiar with the show. When we open up to questions, you could elaborate just a touch on the roles and how it pertains and the overall arching plot, I guess, of the show. To make it, well, I know if it's complicated. I guess how it involves the two characters.
Very convoluted. Well, the evil queen is trying to poison everybody, Imogen, including and her cats and her pets. And so Imogen's
the queen in the White House. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we're putting her in the White House. Oh,
I see. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So she's kind of starting this plague. But basically, it starts with a father whose sons are lost, and so Imogen's the only one left, and we're getting kind of like a King Lear effect here. And so she has to escape because she's the only one left. And in the meantime, she's being betrothed to someone she doesn't want to be with. So she runs away in the actual play into Wales, but we're putting that in the Appalachian Mountains because she's in love with someone else. She's going to take a drug to put herself to sleep when she finds out the person that she doesn't want is coming after her. And so then she does that and then thinks she's dead. Her lover finds her instead, thinks she's dead, so he drinks poison. We're getting the Romeo and Juliet thing going on here. The anti-lover is coming. His whole point is, I'm going to find her, I'm going to rape her, and I'm going to bring her home to me and marry me. It's going to be wonderful.
Wow, this show has everything.
It's hilarious.
And it's hilarious.
Yes, but in the middle of that, there is all the comedy of...
I went way too long in this question, but I just needed a little backstory, so I hope you...
So convoluted.
Atis and Lisa, what was your choice for Shakespeare in the Park for this summer back from quarantine?
In a world where a man is banished from his home, he makes his world anew.
So we're doing The Tempest, set in the near future or the comic book now. Take your pick.
Okay.
You have a Silicon Valley wonderkind, developer royalty deposed, kind of maybe like Tony Stark, kind of maybe not. I don't know. But before he is deposed and chased out of his kingdom, he takes his newly developed research with him. And this is still in development. We're still spitballing ideas and concepts, whether it's real world exile or whether he's exiled to the Matrix worldverse, or maybe it's the universe between molecules. I don't know yet. We'll figure that out. But he winds up taking with him his daughter, who is an AI construct, and he winds up raising her, educating her, and they find themselves in this strange new world. And it goes from there. We figure maybe Caliban can be played by Ajit Pai. I don't know. And then having Robert Downey Jr., he's too Tony Stark. We figure our producers have definitely demanded us to cast Lee Pace.
Yes.
It's all the quiet charm of Ned the Pie Maker from Pushing Daisies, plus the commanding eyebrows of Thranduil from The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings, not The Hobbit. And all the militaristic vengeance of Ronan the Accuser. So, I figure there is our pitch. And we're sticking to it.
So yeah, so where do the island is what? Then with the
Be determined.
Atis, come on, we want a fully developed story here.
What's our budget, Adam?
What's our budget, man?
What's our budget?
If it's produced by Marvel, then it's big. So you get all these MCU guys in. So you want to create this heightened tempest?
We're going to ice.
So we figure, the microverse has already been done. The PIMs have already done that. So we figure we'll go someplace in the electronic realms, someplace where consciousness is digitized, because
like Tron.
Yeah, Tron or the Matrix or something like that.
Okay, got it. And I like the idea that Miranda is a construct, an AI.
Definitely a construct.
Yep.
Interesting. I'd like to hear more about that and Ariel and what that works like. Oh, 3 really, really interesting answers here. I want to open it up to the floor. I'm sure maybe some other people think there are some better MCU actors for the role of Prospero than we face, but who knows? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh,
I'd see all of these shows.
I would go.
I would too. I like all these ideas. I can't dog on any of them too much.
Right.
I was thinking you could get Ariel as Vision, and you can get Caliban as Ultron. So you got the two creations that are like yin and yang, and then Miranda's your pasta.
Yeah, but Miranda's the AI. Everybody else.
You want them all to be AIs.
Sprites in the Matrix.
All right.
Ooh.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Sorry, Adam, we're diverging a little bit. Speaking of Cymbeline, Michael, have you seen the 2014 movie yet?
The Ethan Hawke?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool?
I love Cymbeline. I just had to that was my second, that was in the running for this.
Yeah. Well, Atis just voted for us. So that's for our show.
Well, the Tempest
I voted for Shakespeare, Sarah. I voted for Shakespeare.
The Tempest has been adapted a lot. Julius Caesar has been adapted a lot.
Done.
Yeah. So, what is your pitch? How are you going to make people who are afraid to come to the theater and then social distancing? How are they going to come? They've seen Helen Mirren play the Queen.
They can experience our show virtually, VR style.
Okay, but nobody wants to come watch a show that is reminding themselves about what they just went through, right?
Unless they're traumatized and don't want to leave the house anyway.
Ooh.
So that's Netflix.
But you can't experience ours through Netflix unless we get the licensing deal and simulcast. So sure.
There we go.
But what we really need is human connection after this. And
Humans.
what Cymbeline is going to bring is it's very Game of Thrones-ish with its politics and its
That's very human connection.
And that ended really well. The last episode of that ended really well.
Yeah, well, sure. It's not about the ending. It's about the experience.
And the positive message. Yes.
Journey.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and ours is positive.
In Caesar, every audience member gets a chance to unite together and help depose a tyrant.
Stage combat safety.
Oh my God, dude.
How are we gonna do that?
Retractable knives.
Yeah, how can they do that? It's got to be supervised, right?
We're gonna underwrite this. Who is going
By senators and elected officials who also have knives.
But who is? Wait, let me ask you this. So Trevor, I will ask you: who is Mark Antony? Who would you cast as Mark Antony?
As Brutus?
As Mark Antony. Who would you cast as Mark Antony in the show?
I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that.
This is cancel it. Cancel the show.
I don't think Anthony's not really in the first half of the show.
Because you took the second half out.
Yeah, you cut
that's right. You took the second half. Wait, how long is this show? 30 minutes long?
The assassination's in like 3-2, so that's really most of the show at that point. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those like 3.5 hour long shows anyways. So cutting out the back half is probably fine.
Well, do you have anything to say, Trevor, about the Tempest or Cymbeline?
I would add that I'd probably now, given events of 2 days ago, cast Brad Pitt as Brutus.
Yeah. Since it's turned on SNL, yeah.
Tempest is really interesting. I think it might be very gimmicky. and it's hard to get on board with a show that's gimmicky.
Yeah.
Hot kettle.
Hey,
Fight.
Yeah, essentially we got two gimmicks here, and then we got like
Let's take out half the show.
well,
And
and
then
then we have
we can take
Finland
it to
that,
Sassy.
well, an excellent show. No one has heard of, and no one will come see.
Well, I want to go. Let's go to Art.
Isn't every new play a show someone hasn't seen before, and yet they sell tickets to it?
Not usually. Have you worked in New York? They don't get a lot of tickets sold.
All right now.
Well, Art, what do you think of these answers? And do you have any questions or comments for them?
Well, I'll start with Trevor. I like your idea of the White House. I think that would be interesting. It's sort of been done before, but still not this particular White House. Who did you have as Julius Caesar?
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah,
with a big blonde piece.
definitely. That would work very well. But after that, you kind of lose me.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Unless you have a long intermission, the audience is not going to feel they got their money's worth with just half a play. And Anthony really does appear earlier in the play than you indicated. There's a whole looper call where he wins the race, he comes marching in and all his masculine glory and so forth. Anyway, but as far as the concept goes and the casting, I could go along with that. As far as Cymbeline, that has got to be one of the most complicated I've ever tried to find my way through.
Yeah.
And it would need some very skillful editing, I think, to help a modern audience figure it out.
Yeah.
In fact, we may have to offer each audience member a guide to lead them by the hand through it. But on the other hand, I think your idea of going through a lot of horror and terrible pestilence and so forth, and yet arrive at a happy ending is a very uplifting thing.
Yes.
And that's why it's a comedy, because it ends happily.
Right.
Nothing very humorous about what happens before, because it ends happily. It is a comedy. As far as the Matrix Tempest, personally, I find that play difficult to deal with even on its own. I think the sci-fi element would be interesting, but I think the play might get lost in the gimmickry. That's my feeling.
Interesting. Well, thank you for those comments. I really appreciate that. And that is really going to inform my decision. However, I will say, I think Lisa and Atis, the idea has merit because even though it is gimmicky, if you can do it virtually and in person, that would they're thinking like a producer. They're putting the producer hat on. So if people are too afraid to come to the park, they can still plunk down money online and see this cool Tempest show. I do wish you would have fleshed it out a little bit more with the characters, because interesting idea of putting it in kind of a micro world with these fantastical characters like Ariel, like Caliban, and now Miranda as an AI is interesting. And with Ronan the Accuser as Prospero, you would have that hint as one of the Infinity Stones. You know, I could see the Russo brothers.
Don't lose Ned the Pie Maker.
Yeah,
That's
you gotta
important.
have Ned the Pie Maker.
That's true. And it is on the stage. And Cymbeline, you guys, this seems like a 10-episode Netflix series instead of
That'd be fun.
in the park. And then Julius Caesar, didn't they do that in the park in 2016? And they had the guy playing Julius Caesar kind of look like.
I guess that may have happened. I do remember that now.
Stood up and protested, and they had to walk people out. Anyway, so on basis of that, Art, I know you thought it was kind of gimmicky. I'm a sucker for that gimmick, and I'm going to give it to Lisa and Atis.
Woo!
So good job on that. Goodness, I would like to see all three of those. I would need a synopsis thing like you get for Les Mis to go see Cymbeline.
Yes, I love Cymbeline, you guys. I really do.
Let's do it then.
I do like the 10-episode miniseries too. That'd be kind of fun.
Great.
Ask yourself, and there was another podcast I listened to, and they talk about movies, and like, would this movie work as a 10-episode Netflix miniseries? You can ask that about everything.
Yeah.
Anywho, all right, our third and final question. This is another good one. Said if anybody. Oh, also, if anybody else has any ideas of what their Shakespeare part. Oh, question 3. Okay, here we go. What is your go-to Shakespeare movie adaptation, and why is it the best? Why is it your favorite? We have some really interesting choices for this one as well, because most people, for the most part, stayed away from your classic answers of like Laurence Olivier's Hamlet or Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, etc. We went with some more outside of the box. So I'm going to start with Michael and Sarah. What did you guys pick for your go-to Shakespeare movie?
We went for West Side Story,
Boom.
The film adaptation of the Broadway hit. It's the greatest adaptation, I think, of Romeo and Juliet ever made. Its legacy is one of the greatest movie musicals of all time, propelling it to the top of the list of Shakespeare film adaptations.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the awards it won.
Yeah. 10 out of 11 Oscars.
Yeah,
that it was nominated for, and a Grammy.
And it manages to keep most of the story intact, and the characters are there. So it's a retelling of a Shakespeare play that doesn't lose the essence.
You can go through the West Side Story cast and know exactly who it is in the Romeo and Juliet play.
Right, and there's singing, and there's dancing,
dance fighting.
Right,
you can't beat dance fighting.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
Mambo.
Mambo. Excellent. All right, West Side Story. Excellent. Let's go to Atis and Lisa. What was your go-to Shakespeare movie adaptation that you went with? Interesting choice here.
Dance fights suck, by the way.
Yeah, terrible.
We went. Adam, this was so
hard.
So hard.
Oh
there
my
are
God.
so many great Shakespeare adaptations, like the 2014 Cymbeline adaptation. My Own Private Idaho. You guys, Strange Brew. Elsinore Brewing. Come on, how do you beat that? But
Almost over that.
We went back and forth, and we settled on Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing for lots and lots of different reasons.
Number 1, Nathan Fillion as Dogberry. Mic drop.
Boom.
Yeah. It goes the extra mile to set up the Beatrice Benedict backstory. Not a lot of people do that. So, at the very beginning, you see him sneaking out of Beatrice's bed after a booty call. Really liked the added tension of Conrad as a woman.
Yeah.
You get to see Hero. Hero gets to see Claudia mourn her at her funeral. So her forgiving him for being a grade A douche seems less abrupt, because that's always kind of weird. Tons of physical humor. Amy Acker falling down a flight of stairs after hearing Benedict's in love with her. The use of scuba masks to disguise Claudio. There's very little dressing up, though. It's shot in Whedon's house. It's really low budget. There's no Tuscany villas. There's no velvet pantaloons.
It was a Friends.
It's
a modern day Friends project. It's like something we could do,
Yeah.
And it's very approachable. It's crazy entertaining. And go, Mom, Bo. Go, Mom, Bo.
Excellent. Can you find that anywhere nowadays on streaming or whatever?
I haven't. We own it.
Loan you the DVD.
Yeah, but I don't know. We haven't looked for it. I'm not sure.
It's black and white too.
Black and white.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
but Adam,
it's a good job.
this question was hard because there's so many fantastic
Absolutely.
adaptations.
And speaking of Much Ado, there is a recent one in New York that is amazing.
Okay, so just props. This we were gonna if this was not film only, we were gonna rep great performances, Delacorte Theaters, Much Ado.
Oh, okay.
They're streaming right now. Go watch it. Everybody go watch it. It's great.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, all right. And Trevor, now you're the last one here. What is your go-to Shakespeare movie adaptation? You had trouble with this too.
I did. Yeah. Nancy and I went back and forth on it because my go-to is not necessarily one of the best. It's just one that I enjoy watching a lot. So our official answer, Nancy and I's official answer, is 10 Things I Hate About You. Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles. It's a Taming of the Shrew adaptation. It is excellent, and it is so much fun to watch. Honorable mentions, I had two of them. Get Over It, it's a Midsummer adaptation with Ben Foster. It's goofy. The play within a play. They're actually doing Midsummer as a high school production. It's hilarious. And Scotland, PA is a Macbeth adaptation. And so it was really hard to whittle it down. But we went to 10 Things I Hate About You. A lot of it is for sentimental reasons because it's a true adaptation.
There you go. There's so many Shakespeare adaptations set in high school, especially in the 90s. Not only Get Over It and 10 Things I Hate About You, the what's the one with that was kind of like the 12th Night one? Was it She's the Man?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
they did a lot of those in that era with those, and I think a lot of it is because Taming of the Shrew, Midsummer, 12th Night, because one, it's a comedy, and two, because it's dealing with love. It's like, in a way, Romeo and Juliet, even though the volatility of love, and that's one of the reasons why it works so well with teenagers and with young people, because all of their relationships are volatile.
Yeah. So how do you square, I guess, with Atis and Lisa's choice and your choice, Trevor, how do you square the fact that you're not getting the actual Shakespeare language? With that?
Actually, Atis and Lisa.
I'm sorry. I meant Michael P. and Sarah. I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, once again, I think it goes back to something. Was that on air? That Shakespeare's universal human values, that it works. Mm-hmm. The plots still work. The characters still work, regardless of whether it's Shakespearean language or not.
Not only do they still work, they're more easily accessible, and you can make them more relevant to a more modern audience by changing.
Atis, don't nod. You're supposed to take issue with that.
No.
Well, ours is the same.
It's all good. We all win.
Because ours is not true adaptation.
Much Ado was a really good choice, you guys.
Yes.
You started saying, I'm like, oh, you're right. That was so good.
So good.
So good.
Filmed in this much time in one location.
I pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
Now, what would you? I'll ask that after. So interesting. Art, what do you think about these choices?
Well, I have to admit that I have never seen the film that Atis and Lisa are talking about.
Oh, it's so good.
Go by what they've said.
How much ado?
Yeah. The only one that I'm really familiar with is the Kenneth Branagh version, which I like very much.
It was a runner-up for us.
That was
sure.
Our second choice.
Good one.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is the villain.
Keanu Reeves,
Washington,
it was a terrific film, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I did see this 10 Reasons years ago. I barely remember it. But it was cute.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word you should use with Shakespeare.
Maybe it'll get kids interested and they'll want to come. Maybe
West Side Story. I'm obviously very good. It's not my favorite screen version. I'd rather watch Baz Luhrmann's with Leonardo DiCaprio, or even go back to Franco Zeffirelli's version.
Yeah.
But given the nature that you chose West Side Story, in terms of presenting Shakespeare as close to what the original was, now I know that yours film, you were saying, Lisa, that they use the regular language.
Yep.
It's the normal text.
Speak to speech.
It's Shakespeare's language.
It is.
Absolutely.
Well, I sort of have to go with that one then.
I think. Yeah. Sorry. Did I interrupt anybody there? I didn't know.
I was done.
I think I have to agree with you there, Art. I think the point that you made that this is a film that was like made in Joss Whedon's house, in with his friends, in black and white on digital video or whatever it was. This kind of captures the essence maybe of the language and what they were trying to do to make it for them.
Yeah.
Rather than to make it for an audience.
Yeah.
And as a go-to, as how it personally relates to you. That's a good answer. West Side Story, man, when we studied Romeo and Juliet in school, we had to watch that too. as well as the Franco Zeffirelli Romeo and Juliet as well. And then Trevor, 10 Things is a great movie, and how the characters in that show also, who is who in the play. And man, R.A.P. Heath Ledger. That's goodness, I think, I got to give the point to Lisa Atis for Much Ado.
That's a really
and
good
I think that means we end up as a tie. Is that correct?
No, they win.
They win?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you win! Lisa Atis for the win. Congratulations.
Thanks, you guys. Hey, listen, we're all winners here. If
Some of us have hashtags, but
Shakespeare is a winner. Yes, absolutely. Excellent answers for you guys. Thank you. Yeah, you guys are kings and queens of the bard Shakespeare. Some great answers tonight. Some great comments tonight. My goodness, I really, really appreciate you hanging out with us, and we could talk theater for a while. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Baptized.
I want to thank Art as well for bringing some definite maturity in a good way to Broadway Battles, for sure. And God willing, we will get back on the stage someday to direct, to perform, and Farmers Alley will be there. Kalamazoo Theater will be there when we are allowed to do that. I also want to thank Julie Nemitz for tonight. Behind the scenes doing all the switching and stuff. There she is, putting all the great chyrons and dealing with my flubbing and such. And what do we have coming up this week for Farmers Alley Theater at Home? We always have some good, fun stuff, including next Sunday. We have a very, very special presentation for you folks. It is a benefit fundraising concert called The Sun is Going to Shine Again. The Sun is Going to Shine, which is a virtual fundraiser for Farmers Alley Theater, COVID-19 Emergency Fund, and Bronson Health Foundation. That's going to be next Sunday, May 3rd at 8 p.m. We're going to have some great guests singing, some great songs from Farmers Alley's past as well. It's going to be a great time. Definitely tune in for that. And then after that, we definitely have some content in the works for the rest of May. I know we have the... does anybody have a map? We're doing the mom map monologues, which are very cool to see over the weeks. And folks, definitely check out Farmers Alley's website for information. Check out all theaters' websites because they need you right now. Absolutely. We're all in this together, and I think what's interesting pointing out, even when this is mainly done, or God willing, we're through with this sometime in the summer, in the fall for the time being, it is not assured that theaters will come back at that time. So there are a lot of unknowns now. We're in a fog, and that's why we're here. That's why we want to stay connected to you. I cannot tell you how thrilled and honored and humbled I am by the response, by people saying, oh, we don't want a refund. Excuse me. We don't want a refund for our tickets. We don't want a refund for our subscription. Excuse me. Goodness, I'm getting all emotional, a little verklempt here. But and the donations that are coming in, donations that we are receiving, my goodness, it warms my heart. And I want to thank you all for that. You give us a reason to stay, to keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully we will be back soon. For everyone at Farmers Alley Theater, that is it. Stay home, stay safe, read Shakespeare. Trevor, Art, Lisa Atis, Michael P. Sarah, thank you guys again so much. We'll see you guys next week. And have a hang in there and have a good week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, you guys. It's great to see everybody.
So great.
Parting is such sweet